What's going on, fam? Degen Dave here, and we're back. It's another Thursday, Sends It Thursday. You guys saw the title there. A lot of BitFunded stuff happening here, guys. If you guys been following me on Twitter, got paid out, and I'm giving away $50,000 of BitFunded accounts. I'll give you guys the details on how to participate. If you guys are following me on Twitter, you already know the deal. But yeah, I got a lot here, guys. A lot of BitFunded setups. I just took a trade on BitFunded. I have one that I'm very close to taking right now. I've got multiple scenarios on Bitcoin. Let me know in the chat. What do you guys think? Is this bullish? We have some information that's going to be happening tomorrow. If you guys have been following some CPI, there's a government shutdown situation. We got James in the background that's going to give you guys that alpha. We have a lot to talk about, so let's get rocking and rolling. We don't want to miss this. So let's rock and roll. And if you guys are brand new here, welcome. We are the chart hackers. We are a part of Crypto Banter. And yeah, we love charting things. We love technical analysis. We predict when things are going up, when things are going down. I'm one of the members. And yeah, guys, we got a lot going on here. And if you're brand new, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification. Make sure not to miss out on this content because we're always giving alpha where we can. But yeah, I'm Degen Dave. Been a part of Chart Hackers since we got started about a year ago. I've been a part of Banter for a couple of years now. And yeah, just super excited to be here every Thursday with you guys. Unfortunately, they gave me a time restriction, right? So they're like 30 minutes. That's it. Last week, though, I pushed it to like 35 minutes. I don't know if they noticed, but maybe we can push it to 35 again. So I got a lot of BitFunded setups. I also have some Degen plays that are outside of BitFunded, right? So some of you guys are like, dude, I don't want to do BitFunded. I get it. But remember, these BitFunded setups work on any exchange, any leverage, right? But for BitFunded, it trains you to be a good trader, right? So, and as a matter of fact, it's actually taught me to be a little bit of a better trader with some patience. But let's get into it. So, Banter Bubbles, what is going on, man? This 𝗂𝗚 tried to take a short on it yesterday, gave me the uppercut to the face, but looks like it's rejecting that 786. Zcash pulling back 10%. Actually, I have a Zcash setup there, coming into his own in case the Bitcoin does get another dump. Love to see hype doing hype things here. Looks like SPX, the meme coin, waking up a bit. XMR. Cool. Kind of interesting to see a privacy narrative up 5% and the other privacy narrative down 10%. But yeah, for the most part, just a lot of kind of red for the most part. There was some news about CZ. I don't know if you guys heard about that. James, if you want to fill them in real quick.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the whole world's heard about this at this point. Is the big news. But yeah, CZ got a full pardon, and it's funny. It happened during the show, and the news came out. And then immediately there's like, nope, that's fake news. Didn't happen. And then the White House came out and said, no, it did happen. And the Wall Street Journal leaked it early because somebody in the administration had leaked it out to the Wall Street Journal. So they got out first. Anyway, CZ's been fully pardoned now. And yeah, Trump was just being asked about it during a little meeting here. So yeah, big news. Everybody's talking about it. And of course, the BNB tokens went parabolic. Well, it came out.
Geez, it's crazy, guys. CZ is a good guy now.
Yeah.
All of a sudden.
He did nothing wrong. He's a good person. That's what Trump said when asked about it during his little live earlier.
Yeah, and it's a little conflicting, right? Because I forget which institution was it, Coinbase or Crow. They wanted to investigate Binance for the quick crash, and you know, it's funny because after that crash, CZ made this tweet and said, "Hey guys, this is the opportunity to buy." Right. You think he'd have a little empathy for those that lost millions of dollars?
Well, and that's it though. Depending on how this pardon is worded. Pardons are always up to a certain date. We don't know what that date is. If his pardon is as of today and everything in the past, even if there's an investigation into that and he had anything to do with it, he's in the clear. Certainly seen some theories about that crawling around on Twitter going, how convenient the pardon comes out now that an investigation is being called for. If he's got a pardon already up till today, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Izzy Billionaire says, CZ's the new Jesus.
Favors return from CZ. There you go. Crime is legal. The chat's on fire. They've all heard of it.
Yeah. Nice. Well, thank you, James, for that. But yeah, guys, look, so for the hour, looks like a little bit of a mixed bag here. Hype, just doing hype things, man. Awesome to see that. And you guys know the Lord of Entry is all over hype, so I'm sure he already gave you guys a setup there. And you know, what I'm trying to say is I don't have a hype setup for you guys. You guys should have got that earlier. But yeah, liquidation heat maps, guys. Look, the damage is at 108. A lot of liquidity here, right? So I personally would like to see a little bit of a pullback here. We'll get into my Bitcoin analysis here and kind of what I'm thinking. And then you can see here, clear ahead 112. There's some liquidity building up there, right? So the path of least resistance, right? Where, you know, where's the magnet going to go towards? And personally, I think it would make sense to go to the downside. You know, we have all this pumping going on leading into the event tomorrow. We'll see what Asia does here, right? And then the RSI heat maps, looks like we got Pippin and Caddy on the upside there. 𝗂𝗚, XPIN, the shiny tokens, hype. And then which ones are looking kind of sad here? AVAX looking kind of sad. Did you guys hear about Kadena? Dead. Out. That just goes to show, guys, there's a lot of tokens that are going to go to zero. You've heard it before. So make sure you guys do your own research and pay attention to what you're holding there, right? SQD on the downside there, that actually looked like another good setup there for those that tuned in on Friday. I gave a nice little SQD setup there. But let's just dive in real quick to some BitFunded stuff. Or, you know what? Let's go into Bitcoin and then we'll go into some BitFunded stuff here. So look, USDT dominance is looking bullish. We just had a reversal on the 2-hour, and Bitcoin dominance is looking bullish too, right? Benjamin Cowan wants 61%, right? The big bear wants 61%, right? So look, we got to be realistic here, right? If dominance continues to go up, the altcoins are going to go down, right? So it's important to identify shorts all the time and be aware. But look, for the bull case here, guys, all we got to do is just break this trend. We just need to break the trend. Same thing for dominance or USDT dominance. We need to break this trend, right? We want to see a break trend, right? So, you know, what we could do here, and I don't even know why I didn't do this yet, but let's set an alert here at 4.87 on USDT dominance, and let's call it breaking trend, right? This could mean that, hey, altcoins are starting to rip, and you need to start market longing on some of the tokens that you want to get into. So let's set one here. Breaking trend, right? Because you can go out and do whatever you want. You don't have to always be glued to the screen. Enjoy your day, and all of a sudden the alerts go off. Open your phone, market long some stuff. So Bitcoin, what is going on here, right? We had this nice rally. We had, you know, the CME gap filled, and you know, it was just kind of like this up down situation, right? So what we did today though is we rejected POC and trend, and I've got two trend lines here that I think it's very important to draw here. I have a trend line from the all-time highs. Okay, so it's drawn from the all-time high, the 6th of October. We have that second touch here, and we had this third touch here, and we had this fourth touch here. So we cannot be naive and think we're going to the moon, right? If we keep rejecting this trend line, you know, this thing could be bad, right? So this is a very key level here. And then there's another trend line here, right? We have this triangle formation, right? And this trend line is drawn from the 12th of October, right? So we have somewhat of a, you know, some people would call this one touch, two touch, but I would say generally this is one touch. And then we have our second touch here. And then look at this third touch. This would be a bearish order block and trend, and anchored VWAP coming in perfectly. So we have two zones to be aware of here, and I want you guys to set your alerts for potential hot rejection zones, right? This is the shorts, the banging short entries, right? So 111,368, which is what we rejected already. And then we have this 112,624, right? So Asia, basically, it's been kind of weird. They've been selling, US has been buying, they've been selling, US has been buying. And then what did they do after selling it? US or sold it finally. They basically bought it and sold it. Asia finally bought it last night. And so Asia bought it, US bought it, but it looks like US kind of rejected it here. And so what is Asia going to do? And for me personally, it would make sense for them to come take out US, get their shorts, and then bring it down here, right? If there's not enough volume coming in from Asia, because sometimes they're cheap bastards, right? They don't buy. You know, again, the pattern has then been selling. You know, this would make a lot of sense, right? And then we have the news event tomorrow. I think it's 1 hour before New York opens, right? And then maybe there's some bullish news with US, and then we freaking fly. Right. The other thing, too, on the downside is that we're identifying a rising trend. Right. So right now we have 1 touch, 2 touch. And so if this scenario, this first scenario I'm talking about plays out, we would get our 3rd touch here at 105. And I think a lot of people will start to get bearish, but it's important that if most people get bearish, that's when you long. Whatever most of the people are feeling, you do the exact opposite. So setting alert here makes a lot of sense. 105. Right. And yeah, you know, pump here, that would be kind of cool. But if we do this dump and then pump, just remember, if we stay inside this triangle, there's no major move that has been had yet, right? And it could still go either way, right? It could still go in a big way to the upside or a big way to the downside. So I'm paying attention to that. You know, we have this reversal print on the 2 hour, hidden bearish divergence on Bitcoin, starting to dump a little bit. So I think it's important to watch for both longs and shorts. And again, James, if you don't mind, what is the actual event tomorrow? The government shutdown is in place, but they're still having a meeting. Is that right?
Well, it's just the CPI data is coming out. And with the shutdown, that data is supposed to be turned off. And lots of the data, there hasn't been much of anything coming through. So CPI should not be coming through tomorrow, but they're pushing it to go through. So my theory is they're not making an exception, pushing this out even though they're shut down in order to bring out bad news. I think they're pushing it out because it's bullish. I'm expecting good news tomorrow. And yeah, whether we come down here tonight or whatever, because you know what else is sitting there untouched is that weekend low. It's like 106,200, I think, is it?
Yeah, I have it right here, actually, guys. So alert set, we told the chart hackers to do it. We'll go ahead and tell y'all as well. Yeah. Weekend lows at 106,153. This was on Sunday.
Yeah, this little wick. They haven't touched it. And yesterday they got so close, right? Almost hit it. So yeah, that would make sense. A wick through there maybe, and then send it up. But yeah, I'll be shocked if the news tomorrow is bad. And it's the last data that's going to come through before the FOMC meeting, which is next Wednesday on the 29th, where they actually they'll let us know what they're doing with the rate cut. The hope is that if we have bullish news, they might actually go for a heavier cut and do a 0.5. That would be the best case scenario, is that the data is bullish, inflation's down, because CPI is just a measure of inflation. And that's one of the reasons they've had to be careful here. But if inflation's down, joblessness is up, they could really push and maybe do a 0.5 cut. And that would be just Valhalla.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, good stuff, guys. So CPI data coming out. If it's bullish news, so let's just say Asia sells us into that event and it's an actual bullish news. I'm sure there's some insiders that know could be an amazing long opportunity. A Green Friday, right? How do we feel about Green Fridays? Euphoria, but that could also give us like a dumpy weekend. So we'll be paying attention to that. And then guys, some higher time frame stuff. I think it's important to kind of share this news as well, guys. So look, I'm not biased about this guy, but James Wynn posted this. This was 2 days ago. BlackRock sold $100 million worth of Bitcoin. Why is BlackRock selling right now? It's a question we should be asking ourselves, right? Or do they feel like the top is in? Do they plan on buying lower? What's the, as an institution, you buy low, you sell high, common sense, right? So they're selling 100 million. Do they think we're going for lower levels? Here's another post that James Wynn said. My first target, 97K, playing out exactly as predicted. Did we have the bearish retest yesterday? Are we going to 97K? Well, it could be a thing. And I don't want, and Benjamin Cowan's calling for 61%, right? So we can't say that we weren't warned about this if it does happen. So look, if it does happen, okay, whether it's now or we come up here and dump, I think if we lose 100K, I think the lowest we're going to go is 96, 97K. And at that point, I think it is going to be all-time highs. I think there's going to be a lot of people trapped trying to short the bottom. We have a point of control at 96,518. and I'm sure there's a fib or something like that too, guys. But I don't want to sit here and spend 30 minutes on Bitcoin. Just be aware that that could be a thing, and to have a plan, right? We have this wick here at 102. You know, it's realistic that we could do something like that. Come and take the wick and then go, right? So those are just some things that are running through my mind. So if you guys are silently building shorts in the background as we get these little relief rallies, and you build those shorts, eventually, if that does play out, your shorts are going to be printing quite nicely, right? So let's jump into some information here, guys. So I made a post about the BitFunded. Remember, I went to Singapore. I started the account. I was doing this live with you guys. I took my first trades with you guys. I went Degen, so I got it up to like 20 something K. I tried to do some Degen plays, got it down to like 12K. It's an 80-20 split, but it's real, right? It's real. And yeah, they told me, hey, look, you can give away 10 5K funded accounts, guys. So the deal is you got to go into the description below. You got to click BitFunded here, sign up with my link. You don't need to, register for an account, right? So when you click this link, you're going to register your information here, right? And it's going to know that you were tied to me or whatever. And I'm going to pick 10 of you guys to get a free $5,000 account. And these are the evaluations, guys. You get a 2-step evaluation, you get a 1-step evaluation. So for those of you guys that don't even care about that, basically all I did was I spent $1,000. I got the 2-step or the 1-step evaluation, right? So you can prove yourself once or you can prove yourself twice. It's basically a trial run where you got to earn a certain amount of money on the account, right? So for the expert $1,000 account, you had to earn 10%. I earned 10%. Then they gave me the full funded account, which is this account right now. And yeah, the account, this is this, it's real, guys. I'm withdrawing all of it. Let's see if it's real. And it is. I got my deposit yesterday. And so for those of you guys that think you need a lot of money to trade, no, you can sign up with a couple $100 and get started. So the $5,000 account is $100. You get a $10,000 account for $150. Donald Trump says it the best. You guys ever heard Donald Trump back in the days before he was a president? He said, OPM, use other people's money. And that's what we're doing here, right? So, this is the 1-step challenge. The 2-step challenge is a little bit easier. Once you get the live account, you don't have to have as much of a drawdown. So I prefer doing the second challenge or 2-step challenge, guys. A little bit easier here, and it's actually a lot cheaper. It's $799 for the $100,000 funded account. But again, if you're new to trading, start off with the base, start off with the starter, right? $79, guys, $79. Work on your skill set. Follow us in the Chart Hackers. And so, anyways, guys, like I said, I'm giving away 10 $5,000 accounts. Just follow the instructions in my Twitter. And yeah, you must like the post to qualify. It looks like a lot of people want it, so quite a bit of likes there already. So, anyways, guys, just wanted to share that it's real. So, working up the second phase here, right? So, I already withdrew all my money. I reset my account, and I took a trade already. I shorted Aptos. Why am I shorting Aptos? Well, let's get into that first setup here, right? So, there's two things going on here with Aptos, right? So on the shorter time frame, on the 1 hour, we are printing bearish divergence, bearish divergence, bearish divergence. Okay. The other interesting thing too here on this is I have a mini range pull on this level here. So this is value area high, this is the point of control, and this is value area low. We teach you what that is in the Chart Hackers, but look, we are rejecting value area low on the mini range. Now, if we go into the higher time frames, right? I have a big range pull. I have the value area high. I have the POC here, and then I have value area low right here. And so we are rejecting value area low on the macro. It was not getting any acceptance into the range. So when you see that, typically it's a good banger. So this is a nice hedge play. Just in the event of Bitcoin actually topping out here and going down, I like this setup here, right? And my stop loss is very simple, very calculated here, right? So my stop loss, I gave myself a 4.51% stop loss. And yeah, on my live funded account, I can't lose more than 4,000 a day. And so if this trade doesn't work out, I'm going to lose 1% of the account, right? Using proper risk management. So once it gets to 21% drawdown, I'm out. Why did I pick that top? Well, look at the struggle here. Price action is having a hard time getting above this level here. So I think that's pretty safe, especially if Bitcoin does reject that POC and trend. I'm expecting this to play out here, right? So, you know, anything is possible here, but definitely going to start taking some profits here, like at 310 and then also 298. And then, hey, we could create some lows here and try to fill some of this wick, right? So that's kind of the idea behind Aptos. In the short, the next short I'm looking at is Aster, right? So, yay, 𝗖𝗛𝗓's not a criminal, he's Jesus. Well, this is still looking quite bearish here, right? So I have an anchored VWAP that's coming in right here. I also have a 618. So I have a fib pulled from this high here at 120. What is that? 126 to the absolute low here. So let me get this fixed here. Where is it disappearing? Let me just delete it actually and just redraw it. So from this wick high to this wick low, we have a 618 here. We have an anchored VWAP. And you guys can see the struggle here, right? You guys can see the struggle so far. You know, we have a rejection here. And so I think with Asia opening, I think we're going to see another pop into the anchored VWAP. This is also a value area low here. And so I have an alert set already at 110, 106. And yeah, I think I'm going to give myself about a 3% stop loss here. Okay, you can also see kind of what Dylan says, the undercarriage, right? You can see this resistance here. So I really, you know, I don't think Aster, I mean, the bullish case is Aster breaks this horizontal and we find this as support. But I personally believe that we're going to come into here, worst case scenario, and then we're going to reject. Okay, and I think we're going to tap the anchored VWAP from the lows. So 102 is a target. And then also this bullish order block, that's probably where I'm going to full TP, right? This is quite a bit of a bullish order block here, but this is a nice little 10% move. Looking to take this on BitFunded here. Okay. A couple longs. So let's shift gears into some longs. So the ones that I really like, I think I talked about this on Saturday, was 𝗬𝗏. So 𝗬𝗏 looks quite nice here. Kind of zoom in here and show you guys what I'm talking about. So first of all, 𝗬𝗏 on the higher time frames. On Saturday, I did point out that we had, some nice bullish divergences here. So oversold, bullish divergence, and we're kind of just creating these higher lows. And we're also holding the anchored view out from the lows here, right? So I do like this POC. So we have a point of control. We have an anchored VWAP coming in. We have an order block, right? So Bitcoin going down to that 105 maybe. Would like to see this hold. And then looking to take this one up. So quite nice. I really do like this setup here. My alert is at 35.03. And then looking to give myself about a 5% stop loss here. So this is a BitFunded trade. Again, 5% stop loss here. I think is reasonable. Probably even start tracking a trend line here would make sense. Right. So worst case scenario, if Bitcoin does go down to like 104 or whatever, we really want to see this hold here. And then, yeah, the targets would be obviously this value area high at the top of this trend here, 38 cents, which would give us about a nice clean 10% move. And then, yeah, there's even a higher target here, which is the value area low on the macro, which is be 18% move, right? And even if we do get this pump, this is still kind of in a bearish posture here. So yeah, looking for the relief bounce on 𝗬𝗏. Again, 𝗬𝗏 has been beaten to death, and we've been seeing a lot of strength on SOL. Like in the grand scheme of things, we are at the low of lows for 𝗬𝗏, right? Which is why I like it. And then just to before we move on here, on the 3-day time frame, I like to see this reversal print here. And it looks like the 3-day RSIs are kind of curving up here too, right? So eyes on 𝗬𝗏, guys. I think it's more of a safer SOL play. Again, paying attention to SOL. SOL's been bouncing beautifully off the anchored VWAP and also the 786, right? So we have a 200-day moving average. We have an anchored VWAP. We have a 786 fib. And then I've dropped anchored VWAPs from this low and this low. And you can see that price action is above it right now. So paying attention to this as kind of the heartbeat for the 𝗬𝗏 trade. If Solana starts to do something like this, I'm probably not going to take that 𝗬𝗏 trade, right? So it's very important to track SOL and to track 𝗬𝗏 if you do want to take this trade here. So we did get this reversal print on the 2-hour time frame for SOL, right? So we could very well reject here, but looking to see this hold. Remember, the ETF was live as of last Friday, and I think that was basically right here, right? So when we saw this dump, the ETF was live, and so far since the ETF's been live, if you guys were paying attention over the weekend, a lot of strength over the weekend. This was like a nice little weekend rally. Then we had the reset, and again, it's just holding here, right? But the bearish case for SOL is if we lose this trend, we back test, then we're probably coming down to this point of control, right? Which would mean Bitcoin's probably going to 97K, 100K. Okay, so just have some awareness of that. Have a plan. Don't hold this to the grave if we start going down lower than 174. So I think it's important to set an alert here at like 170 and just call it sweep of the lows. Right, that would be the sweep of the lows. Okay. So next BitFunded trade, I gave this on the daily candle. I tried to take this on Tuesday with the chart hackers, right? But we saw that double bottom on Bitcoin, but is Ondo, right? So one of the reasons why I like Ondo is, number one, the fundamental stuff, so do your own research. But on the 3-day time frame, we're sitting on a pretty juicy bullish order block here. We also have a 3-day reversal print. So I like that as higher time frame conviction, right? If Bitcoin is indeed bottoming out and we're going to go for all-time highs, again, anything's possible. 3-day bullish divergence reversal dot looks quite nice here. And then, yeah, kind of zooming in to the shorter time frames here. I do like this 1 hour time frame, right? We're getting spider webs, right? So it was screaming like, please bounce here, right? And with the blue reversal dot. So we did have this little bounce here and we're kind of holding it. We have a bullish order block here, but you know, I think that Asia is going to sell it. And I personally think it makes a lot of sense for Ondo to come and take out the wick, right? So we have this wick here. We have value area low. So I'm looking to re-enter this trade and give it another go here at 68.60. And then looking for the final stop loss to be at 64.36. And the reason why I picked that stop loss is the history here. Let me see. It just seems like a generally, I mean, you could even drag it just a little bit more, maybe like right here, right? But it kind of looking at kind of previous history wicks, right? We have this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy here, right? So what are the chances of it like going here? Maybe 25%, right? We had this crazy deviation right here, right? So that would, obviously that would suck. But that would also mean Bitcoin's going to 97K and your short should be printing and you get stopped out of your longs and you take your small loss. But, you know, I think this is a very nice play. And then again, we have that 3-day bullish divergence. I mean, 3-day bullish order block here, which looks really, really good. So yeah, that's the idea with Ondo. Looking to get in this trade for BitFunded. Entries at 68.60, going to be a little bit patient here. And again, the other thing too, guys, to pay attention to is we have this data coming out, right? So it makes a lot of sense to you know, especially if you're not an experienced trader, to kind of just sit on the sidelines and wait for that data first, right? Sometimes the best trade is taking no trade, right? A lot of people feel like they got to be in a trade all the time. And guys, trading is like a casino, man. You can go into the casino anytime, but it doesn't mean you're going to win, right? There could be a bad dealer. There's bad vibes. It's a bad table. And you put your money at these tables, you're going to lose, right? But then you come in the morning time, there's only one dealer. She's in a happy mood. You sit down and you're just winning and winning and winning. Like, you got to find the right time. And I'm telling you guys, it's just a little bit of alpha mindset talk. Is sitting on the sideline is a trade in itself, right? Again, preserve your capital for the bigger trade, the higher conviction trade. But again, this is a charting channel. We're wanting to go over as many setups as possible. Now, if Bitcoin does bottom out at 105-ish, or we get that reversal, obviously I'm going to long Ethereum as well. And one of the tokens I'm looking at is 𝗏𝗏i. I think 𝗏𝗏i is looking really juicy. 𝗏𝗏i is also on BitFunded. And this is the level I'm looking at. I'm looking at this 91-cent region here. Looks really, really good. Okay, I think under $1 is kind of crazy. It's kind of at that psychological level already, but you know, kind of looking at this region here, it makes a lot of sense, right? And so I already set my alert here at 90 cents, and it would make a lot of sense that if Bitcoin does confirm that trend line, we tap this. I think 𝗏𝗏i is gonna fly, and 𝗏𝗏i is one of those that's very aggressive. Like, it's gonna be one of those that rips 20% for the day. I mean, up to the 50-day or up to this POC and 200-day, guys, it's already a 20% move. If we go to the 382 retracement, it's a 43% move. Like 𝗵𝗡 is one of those that can really melt faces here, right? And I love how it's just been beaten to death, right? That's where you look for the long. You don't want to short it here. You want to try to find the long. And I also believe on the 3-day time frame, or what was it, the daily, one of these guys. Yeah, the daily had a reversal print already. We had this 12-hour bullish divergence. Now we're actually lower than that 12-hour divergence. So yeah, it seems like a very nice risk to reward play here for me here. Okay, so 𝗵𝗡, eyes on 𝗵𝗡. The other one that looks good is Pendle. I'm kind of blown away. In fact, I feel like taking a trade on Pendle with you guys, but you know, I think maybe if a little bit of patience and we'll get this wick at 296, right? Bitcoin going down to 105. We confirm that trend line. I mean, look at this, guys. This is insane. Look at this spider web. Bullish divergence, bullish divergence, bullish divergence, bullish divergence, right? It was printing it here, and guess where we're at? We're at the same level right now. So I like to see this. And if the altcoins are going to run, if Bitcoin if dominance loses trend, I think Pendle's going to fly. Let me see, what else did I see here? And this is the other crazy thing about Pendle. We have 3 oversold prints on the 3-day time frame, on the 3-day. So that is huge. And yeah, again, it looks like it's been beaten to death too. So there's a couple nice things here. We have value area low. We have a 618 hacker zone. We have a point of control. I mean, we're pretty much on it now. And it's about a 5% stop loss, right? So, for me, I think 296 makes a lot of sense. $3, $3 psychological level. And we're not too far off from that, guys. We're not too far off. So again, I do think we're going to sell off just a little bit here with Asia, take some profits. But look at Pendle, guys. Looks like a 2.5% window for opportunity. And holy crap, it's already 5:36. Jesus. Okay, let's go. I'm taking too long. Okay, Near Protocol. Here's another one I'm going to talk about. I gave it to you guys on Saturday. It looks like we're round tripping onto the 786 again. So just a cheat code here. 215 looks really, really good. It's also that 786 that I told you guys about on Saturday on the live trading, right? So I have a fib that's pulled from that wick low here on the 22nd of June to the high 786. We're holding it quite nicely. We've held it quite nicely in the past, and maybe we're holding it quite nicely here now. So I do like Near Protocol, and yeah, the Reverend 360. For those of you guys that know about the research guy, he thinks this is a 10x in the bull run, right? So even at spot, good accumulation zone, right? I'm not saying that we're going 10x now, but it's a real fundamental play. Okay. Okay. Well, how can I finish this off here in the next few minutes with some? So this is now outside of BitFunded. Okay. I wanted to give tell, right? So we had a gentleman give this to us in the chart hackers. Steven, thank you so much, sir. This one looks really crazy because on the daily time frame, I think it was. Yes, the daily, we have 2 reversal dots, a bullish divergence, and we're chilling. We're chilling here. Okay, so we're holding this rising trend with tell. It's pretty much at an entry now, but if Bitcoin goes down to, a little bit lower level here, I think it would make a lot of sense to tap this wick here. And guys, when that Friday wick happened, that crash, this was the low. So this is kind of crazy, right? Because if we do come and do this again, it feels like this would be the double bottom here. So it's pretty much at an entry now at 0037, but I also have a backup alert here at 0032. This one is going to be a banger, in my opinion. A little old Dino token here, but again, it's at these lows, and if we can make it to value area high, this is a 120% move to the upside. Looking at that quite nicely here. Zora, we nailed Zora on Saturday. I gave it to you guys, right? So this is kind of the old setup here. We held the anchored VWAP, and we're at the level again now. So a little round trip again. We're just playing the range, long the anchored VWAP, short the value area high, right? So we're pretty much here now, but if Zora does an STB situation, this one looks like a banger here. This is a backup zone, 0.0737 here. Looks really, really nice here, right? So for Zora, it is at an entry now. For those of you guys that are degens, I need a trade right now. You're itching, but make sure you guys have awareness of your stop loss here. Maybe like a 6% stop loss, and don't get wrecked by these wicks here. So I would say your stop loss should be around 0.08400. Okay, Zcash, looking at Zcash, just to kind of piggyback off of Dylan, I'm in alignment here. Alert set at 203, value area low 618 anchored VWAP. If Bitcoin goes to 100K, banger. Banger, okay. 𝗂𝗟𝗏, tricky here, 786. Right, I'm doing a session here with the chart hackers with Trader J here in about an hour or so. So we'll be covering a little bit more of these in detail. But yeah, drop an anchor VWAP from the high here, guys. We tried to take a stab at the macro 618 retracement. It actually blew past it. We're kind of at the 786 now, looking to see this struggle here. And yeah, would like to see this come down here still, right? So still looking for a pullback on 𝗂𝗟𝗏. And guys, pretty much out of time. I really, you know, I got to follow instruction here, right? So just as a recap, guys, and for those of you guys that are hopping in a little late here, Bitcoin, guys, we are at a resistance level here. So just again, set your alerts here. Looking for Asia to maybe come and stop the, stop US out and take the short 111.289. And then we have this value area low, which is the weekend lows. Very crucial, guys. I think it's very important that we do take out the weekend lows, which is at 105.949. And then obviously if Bitcoin comes down here, we're going to have some amazing entries on all of those longs that I told you about. Again, gave you guys quite a bit of setups here, right? But just because I gave you a bunch of setups doesn't mean you need to take every single trade, right? I see a lot of people out there, what they'll do is they'll just like one of my setups and then they'll go full send one setup and then they get wrecked. And they're like, oh my God, I hate Degen Dave. Well, guys, that's not how it works. You got to be very versatile. You got to be in some longs. You got to be in some shorts. Assume that half of them are not going to work out, but the ones that do work out end up ripping to the moon and they pay for some of the stops on some of the trade setups that didn't work out, right? Sometimes more of them are going to work out, right? But you have to be able to spread your risk and diversify into multiple setups. And yeah, you're going to have that one heavy hitter winner. And yeah, that's where you start to compound, start to, use more risk and compound the compound, as they say. But again, we have this event coming up tomorrow with CPI, even though the government shutdown happened. And I'm pretty sure that is going to be a volatility sparker, right? So there will be volatility tomorrow, obviously here. So it doesn't hurt to kind of sit on the sidelines and wait. Okay. And to finish it out, tomorrow, I have been invited back to defend the title, right? So last Friday or 2 Fridays ago, I went up against Sheldon, Kyle Dupes, and Dylan. And I was kind of freaking out because I didn't know what to expect, but I won. And I got to defend the title, right? So definitely would appreciate all the support for those of you guys that are going to be available tomorrow to watch that. There's going to be some different participants. And yeah, I'm looking forward to trading on the Gravity exchange as well. So if you guys like Gravity, really cool exchange, guys. If you're tired of centralized exchanges and your accounts getting frozen and, risk alerts, which I got with Mexi, guys, just a long story. Gravity is amazing. It's a decentralized trading platform, which is what we're going to use tomorrow. You guys can actually register here, right? So Gravity trade with speed and privacy. It's actually privacy as well, right? So there's some kind of mechanic inside their system to where it's all private, right? Nobody can see your position. I mean, like withdrawals, all that stuff, guys, it's all private, guys. It's really an amazing platform here. And I plan to use it a lot more here. I'll probably start cooking some more stuff in the kitchen there with Gravity and show that on the next show there. But if you guys are interested in Gravity, you actually earn 10% of your trading balance in there, right? So really cool. If you guys register, go inside, you deposit $1,000, $2,000, $10,000, it doesn't matter. You automatically earn 10% interest just by sitting it in there. And there's airdrops, there's all kinds of cool stuff. There's really a big power play to it. And not to mention, it's a decentralized exchange. Nobody can freeze your money or tell you, hey, there's a suspicion, right? Which is a bunch of BS with decentralized exchanges, guys. So I think that's where the world's turning to, more of these DEXs, which is why Aster's pumping, AV&T, all these things, hypes on a run right now. We got to be able to be adaptive to the narrative. But yeah, just wanted to drop that alpha to you guys there, guys. So cool. And shout out to the chats. Tom, JR, what's going on? We got a guy named Win Entry. I love it, man. Who else do we got here? Paul, Heshlock. Shout out to you guys. Modus, Damien. Appreciate all of you guys being here. So Cool, guys. Hope you enjoyed the show. Hopefully I don't get crapped on because we went like 15 minutes over. Let me know in the chats, guys. Actually, help me out. Put some comments. Say, hey, please let Degen Dave do this a little bit longer here, right? I feel like 30 minutes is just like cheating you guys. So with that being said,
hey, the comp tomorrow, that because I was talking to Maruk about it today. She was on the stage because she's joining you, I believe.
Is she? Heck yes. Let's go, Maruk.
She's who's going from Chart Hackers, and I think there's somebody from Sniper and somebody coming from Frontrunners as well. But Maruk is the one that's representing Chart Hackers.
Let's go.
But it's 10 minutes before US Open, from what I understand.
Yes, I actually have the invitation here.
So you have people asking here. They obviously want to get on there and watch because that was great entertainment last time around.
Was it? Awesome. Yeah, no, I think you're right, guys. It's I mean, it's going to be around like 9 a.m. my time. So 9 a.m. my time. Just stay tuned, guys. You know, they'll post the information. They usually have the link 2 hours before it goes live, right? So just be on the lookout. 9 a.m.
You'll have that CPI data's in, so you'll have the volatility from that to trade with as well. So
right.
Really good for live trading. That's what we were saying earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are going to watch me on the 1 minute time frame. So be ready for that. I am a Degen in that regard. So.
Nice.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you, James, for being here. Thanks for the alpha. Thank you guys for tuning in. And we'll see you guys on the next trade.